I'd like to call the January meeting of the county board to order. Would you please join me in the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Certainly. Luddington.
Here.
Patrick. Bruner.
Here.
Ellis.
Here.
Farnham.
Here.
Lawton.
Here.
And Voigt.
Present. Next, we do have a quorum. So next we have the minutes for December 2nd, 24, and December 11th of 24. You've had those in your possession for a few days. Can I have a motion to approve those, please? Russ moves, Dan seconds. Is there any corrections or additions to the minutes as presented? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The minutes are approved. Claims against the county. You've had those for a while. Are there any questions about the claims against the county? Taylor, we had a question about mapping, school mapping. Can you explain?
We got a grant for the indoor school mapping project, so all our 11 of the schools in Edgar County will be available. If responding units have mobile CAD, they'll be able to see each classroom and how the school is laid out.
I'm not sure what the question is.
They had charge here for mapping under 91, Committee 91. And Dan wanted to know what that was for.
Okay, right, to Bruce Harris, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much was it? How much was it?
Like 38,000 total. Is that about right?
And she got a grant
Grant.
to
Right.
pay for that.
I understand.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Any further discussion of the claims against the county? Hearing none, motion by Dan. Russ seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Claims are approved. Claims for board members, county board members, you've had those. Any questions? A motion to approve the claims for board members. Russ moves. Bill seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. They are approved. Now we come to the portion of the meeting for public comment. We ask that you identify yourself and keep your comments to roughly 5 minutes. Yes, Jonathan.
Two quick things, or something from HRC and something from a community group I'm part of. From HRC, we've been working with the jail to try to get some better crisis services, more timely crisis services. Functionally, I think we can do it right now. We're trying to figure out an alternative insurance provider that's willing to cover the work. The main barrier is our general liability insurance has outright denied us to go into the jail to work. So we have to apply for a supplemental insurance policy to see if they'll cover it. It's not the risk to us going into the jail that they're worried about at all. They're worried about the culture that we have in America right now, where we sue the police every time they breathe. and they're worried about us doing services in that environment where the police and anything related to police is targeted liability-wise. So that's where our general liability insurance, previously they've always covered it. Dang be the person who asks permission, and that would be me in this case. Before we went into a contract with you guys and really committed to it, I wanted to make sure it was clear what we were doing, and now they've outright denied us. So I'm gonna work on supplemental insurance application to see if we can find somebody that cover that service. We are working currently with, we're in Kansas schools currently with some school-based counselors, and we're working with District 95 to add some school-based counselors to District 95. You may, if you're connected with the schools, you may have heard that, you know, there's been a lot of struggles with mental health, particularly with the youngest kids, your kindergartners. They're having a lot of struggles with that. So we're trying to supplement there, and we're in the process of recruiting a school-based counselor to meet that need and finalizing contracting with them. On my other topic, I'm part of a small group calling ourselves Doorway to Hope. We're operating out of Lake Ridge, and there's a small group of people from Ross Council, Lake Ridge administrators, other interested people from the community who's interested in addressing the emergency shelter and long-term shelter needs for some of our homeless struggles here in the region. And just wanted to make you guys aware that group exists and that we're trying to work on the problem. You know, I see it with our clients coming into LRP usually after we destroy one of the abandoned houses that people are living in. Then they end up back to homeless, they're back in the LRP, and they're back to bouncing around the community looking for another abandoned house to occupy. I'm sure the homeowners are sick of it. I can't imagine that they appreciate people moving in their house and squatting and tearing it up and, you know, without any electricity or anything else. And I think it's a public health issue as far as sanitation and that stuff. So we do meet at Lake Ridge the second Tuesday every month at 5 p.m. If anybody wants to join and be part of that problem-solving group. It could very well result in a new 501c3 being formed. That's certainly possible. Or we're actively meeting with other organizations who are in this field already to see what they do and if we want to collaborate perhaps. But you know, I mean, I see the problem. I would hope anybody that drives through Paris probably sees the problem, where we have lots of people who are homeless, who are squatting, who are living in abandoned houses, and it's not a good situation. Our group is currently working with the fire department here in Paris. The Doorway to Hope group is working with them to help ensure that people using the emergency shelter currently are cleaning up after themselves, because that was a problem when we got with Chief Cranston. We found that was a big problem that they were dealing with. So we're trying to supplement there and motivate people to clean up after themselves and get that clean. I know we're sending in people on a regular basis, but we just want to be a support and we want to help address this problem. Want to make you guys aware of it, basically, and get any questions that you may have.
Questions?
Has your group talked to the city council people?
Not yet. That's our immediate
Okay.
future. Yeah, and we've a little contact with them, primarily over coordinating with that emergency shelter that they're operating out of the ag building, which that is still operating. It's not being pushed on Facebook like it was, because it just attracts a lot of negative feedback, you know, when they're trying to do something, but they're trying to make a shelter available. So.
Thank you, Jonathan.
All right, thank you.
Any other public comment, please? Hearing none, we move on to Authorize chairman to sign all documents with Illinois Century Network regarding the point of presence in the new Edgar County Public Safety Center. You've had that. Are there any questions about that? That's pretty much as described from the beginning. They're putting that in. We're supplying hookup facilities and conduits in the jail for them to be able to get into the jail. And we're giving them easement down the west line to get into it. Hearing none, a motion to
Is it currently at State Highway? And there's
Yes,
something to the State Highway building,
well, but this is brand new. This is.
so they
not-
haven't run anything, it comes through down 16,
Yes,
and it comes and ends up at the jail,
right.
but they're gonna run out 133 and then down our property, right?
That's my understanding. I wish, I thought Josh was gonna be here
Yeah,
to,
I remember him talking about it the other day when we were out there. Okay.
motion to approve resolution. Andy moves, Russ seconds. Further discussion? Mr. Clerk?
Ludington.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Ellis.
Yes.
Farnum.
Yes.
Lawton.
Yes.
It is approved. Okay, next, I'll let Lisa kind of shepherd this through. Letter of support for Frontier Communications Feed Project.
Right. Frontier Communications, up until yesterday, was the only broadband service that I had been communicating with, and Mike Nelson had come and spoken to us quite a while ago. And they need a letter of support or resolution from us as supporting documentation to apply for the first round of funding, which is due January 23rd. And so that's what I'm proposing today. We can sign as many letters of support as we choose to for different companies. We are not, by signing this, we're not bound to supporting only Frontier. I will say that Mike Nelson from Frontier keeps in good contact with me. And he had shared a map that there are 432 locations in Edgar County that are grant eligible, but they would not all be within this first round of funding. There's a second round in the spring. And he shared with me the map that's in round one, and it's, of course, a smaller amount because there's fewer people, from 36 down to St. Bernice on the Illinois side, and then, but most of it is from Paris, draw a line from Paris to the southeast corner of the county. So that's where almost all of the funding would go for the first round.
Where's the funding come from?
State and federal. And spoke to a gentleman from Pavlov yesterday who plans to be at either or both our February study session and board meeting, and which is interesting because it would be after the letter of support for the first round would be presented. And he had also spoken to Angela Griffin at Interstar. So he's done quite a bit of groundwork, and so I told him we'd just welcome him coming to visit us. So this is just so that we can provide a letter of support in resolution form for Frontier to include with their proposal packet, their submission.
Questions of Lisa?
And then also Terry Sullivan, who I communicate with somewhat most of the time, is also here in case we had any questions for Terry or if Terry had any information.
Well, when you see email, you'll also see that Next Link is interested in pursuing it.
And I haven't
So
heard
you got
from
some more, you got more vendors finally. And there will be, and they actually got 60, the February meeting will be plenty of time, because they got 60 days after that, for January 23rd to submit.
Okay,
So that's for the first round, then there'll be a second round after that.
okay, so Mr. Nexus should be contacting me though, right?
Yes.
Do you have a contact for them?
I have his, he's been talking to me, and they've got preliminary maps too. I mean, I won't take your time right now, but anyway, there's a good chance they would like to, you know, be at least discussed at the February meeting.
Okay, well, if somebody contacts me, then we can put on the agenda.
So these companies that are doing this, who approves, who gets to do that? I assume the state? We don't have anything to do with it?
Illinois Office of Broadband, they apply to. So it's actually the Illinois branch under the FCC. So there's $1 billion they've got to fund out in the next, basically 9 months. That'll be out across the entire state of Illinois. And so the applications go to the state has a point system. And so what you guys are doing for them is they get extra points if they get support from the community. That increases their chances of being funded.
Has anybody said what the rate for the internet service is going to be, as when you talk about that, or?
They have to have, part of the requirement for the grant, they have to be within an affordable range, and they have to offer a low-cost option for people of need. So there are some restrictions on it. The benefit to have more, if 2 or 3 people providing services, competition's always good for pushing rates down. So that's one of the big reasons to try to get more vendors involved.
Well, I know, I'm sure it's very expensive to put the fiber optic throughout the county. Has there ever been any talk about like Starlink?
That's the first and second round. The first round is focused on fiber, which is super expensive when you gotta go miles, especially when you got a challenge to get through. Then the second round can be hybrids, where they've got wireless and fiber combinations.
Okay.
And then the satellite is a great option, it's kind of a stopgap thing. I don't think it's a long-term, 20, 30-year solution, but it is a good solution temporarily. But it's gonna always be expensive. So it's a lower, as priorities, it's like fiber one is first choice, fixed wireless second choice, and then satellites. This is part of the state's point system.
All right. Thank you.
And this big map I have down here that the Powwow man gave me is the one that shows the 432 locations that were identified as eligible, in case we all want to look at that.
As what?
The 432 locations that are eligible.
It's locations that the state has identified as having none or limited service. They're the extreme cases in the state that don't have that, which is a little bit confusing because some of them have already been funded by other grants that haven't been built yet. So it makes it confusing.
Do you have a motion, Lisa?
So I make a motion to sign the resolution.
Second, Andy? Lisa moves, Andy seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Does carry. Next, we move into department heads' report. Augie?
I don't really have anything.
Okay.
Unless you have questions for me?
Pam, do you have anything from the highway department? Samantha, do you have anything to add to your
I do,
report
as
on?
promised, I have 2024 annual report. You all have been waiting with bated breath. EMS achieved Mission Lifeline Silver Stroke Status Award in 2024 for our quality stroke care. We are the only service south of Chicago to have this designation for EMS. We achieved our own mental health resiliency officer, and we support all area public safety and mental health resiliency. We actually have a class set up next week where we have 35 attendees from all areas of public safety to help ensure our own mental health moving forward. Secured a SAMHSA rural EMS training grant in 2024 and will reapply for a 2025 EMS week. We tend to give back. We hosted our first ever children's event out at the park. It was attended by over 150 children and their families, was highly successful, and allowed them to interact with public safety officials. All staff completed the emergency vehicle operators certification course to help lower our insurance rates as well as come in compliance with the new Illinois law. We collaboratively work with our local substance use treatment and mental health offerings to assist all public on the local resources. We continue to improve our documentation and in-house billing for improved collection rates on EMS payments. Monthly continuing education with Paris Fire, Paris Community Fire Protection District, to help keep them CEU compliant at no cost to those services. We secured a 4.5-year county EMS contract. Our EMS education was expanded to first responders in the high school. We have over 70 community courses with over 16 businesses supported with first responder and training courses at no cost to them. Collaboration with Lakeland for offering paramedics a clinical site to perform their clinicals. We also collaborated to have a dual credit offering for our high school EMT course. We have 100% placement to job for those who pass the community EMT course, and we have the only BLS course offering in Spanish south of Chicago in 2024 completed for one of our industries. We had a Earn While You Learn program implemented where staff can achieve a scholarship for a commitment to the organization. We had 4 enrolled for a paramedic Earn While You Learn program. 2 have been successful and 2 are on track for a May graduation. We implemented a field training program which integrates time with the new staff spending time with other public safety offices. We completed over 3,000 transports accident-free, and despite our staff turnover in 2024, we had 0 shifts that went uncovered and have ended the year with some workforce stabilization. Any questions for Horizon Health? Thank you.
Hey Samantha,
Sir,
do you have a copy of a report or something you could send me?
I'll email you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Here, a meeting or 2 ago, you talked to us about the Clark County situation with 911 calls and all that. Have anything been resolved with that? Have you heard back? Your attorneys were involved, were they contacted anybody in Clark County or?
No, we did some language revision on our mutual aids. So those will begin to get signed in February as those roll around for their annual renewals. Still looking for some language revision in the county contract. It holds us to a higher standard than what the law says we have to be held to.
Sam, there was discussion about a potential map being provided to us that would show this, what the statutory language showed as far as coverage.
Did I not send that to you?
I don't know that I received it. It's possible I didn't, I missed it in my email.
Possible I didn't send it to you. I'll get
There
to
is
you.
one available?
There is,
Okay.
there is. A map was done and the statutory language was attached to it, yes. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And that would mean, Philip, then when you would be able to take a look at the contract and based on that, communicate with the hospital's attorneys to see what modifications we might agree to make to our current contract with Horizon.
Yes.
Okay.
Did we get all the bills resolved, both the ambulance and the hospital bills?
Yes, it shows financially we did.
All of it took care of, okay.
I know it was current through October. I don't know anything from October forward if the process that's been working.
No, I haven't had any further contact with the hospital.
Okay. We haven't got any bills recently you're aware of?
I've got a couple small bills, but some of them were from when PD took them and I'm getting bill for them, so I have to call and tell them they weren't in custody with us at the time.
Yeah.
So then they fix them. But I've got a couple small bills from us for like doctor's visits.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Samantha. Taylor?
Looking at me.
I'm sorry. I meant,
I was like, no,
I'm
I
sorry.
do not have anything.
this is my crossed eyes. Taylor, do you have anything to add to what you've already told us? Okay. Now Jill,
Yeah, I said I don't have a lot. We were trying to plan an open house, but the weather hasn't been cooperating, so, hopefully within the next, few weeks or so, we'll have a date scheduled for that.
looks best with green grass.
Right? You can't get in our parking lot. They do shovel and all that stuff and plow, but like I said, it's just a big thick layer of ice, so.
Thank you.
Have you talked to anybody or heard anything back on the fencing?
No, we were told we had to wait until like, I don't know, beginning,
Springtime,
first of the
maybe.
year, yeah, well, first of the year, but then all this happened, so.
Towards springtime then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jonathan, do you have anything more to add to what the report you gave? Okay. Kim, do you have anything?
Thank you. It's been a busy month. In case you catch wind of it, we've had some building issues, boiler issues. The boiler's still down right now, so we are shut down again today. I have not got an update on the parts. Yesterday, that was the issue. The parts didn't come in, so hopefully they'll come in today. But we had some more mechanical issues yesterday. We had fire on site. And thank you, Andy Patrick, for coming over and taking a look at it. Luckily, they did a second loop around the building and found. So today, they'll be assessing if there was any damage to the pump or, if they can get that up and running and back together. So hopefully we'll have heat. Right now, it's above freezing. We had a board meeting this morning, and it's not comfortable. It's amazingly comfortable in some areas, but not others. It's a very weird building, but we need some insulation. We had a board meeting this morning that did adjust our big announcement today would be a fee reduction for our temporary food permits. So they did go, that is your, I don't want to say professional food vendors per se, it's the people who come in, they, maybe an organization wants to sell hot dogs at the fair. So it's not their typical norm. They put in a food permit, we guide them through the correct temperatures and basic requirements of what they need to have. That 1 day permit, 1 to 14 days, it's all the same, because if you think about a fair, it goes on for more than 1 day. That one permit is good for the continuation of that event. That was a $50 permit. So that's a very high cost compared to our neighbors, and oftentimes we share vendors. So that went down to $30 today. So quite an affordable change. That was a significant change, and we made some changes to separate the mobile food, which is like a restaurant on wheels, from that temporary food fee schedule. So a little bit of savings, and hopefully we'll promote some growth in that industry. Oftentimes, food professionals get their foot in the door somehow, and a lot of times that's temporary food. So that's my update.
Questions? Lisa, do you have anything to add to that?
We are still communicating regarding the need to fill Scott Ingram's position, still accepting if anybody has any suggestions for that. We had one name, but if we had more, it'd be even better. That's it.
Philip?
I have some comments here. This is not directed by any means at the county board. And I'm just hoping I will have a version of this statement that will be available for release on Friday. Now, the community, through social media, has expressed some outrage and anger regarding a negotiated plea in a recent case, that case being the criminal case involving Carla Tresner. Based on my analysis of the people's case against Ms. Tresner, which included an evaluation of all of the evidence in that case, the rules of evidence, the witnesses in that case, and the overall strength of the case, I stand by my decision that we entered into a negotiated plea to a lesser charge. I know that I'm a public official, and as such, I'm subject to public scrutiny and second guessing. While I'll not make a regular practice of providing comment or statements regarding every case, I will also not needlessly take punches. Now, the Prairie Press, who is noticeably absent today, they have no obligation to do so, but they did not ask my office for a comment prior to running their article. I'll provide such comment now. In a normal case, in a normal criminal case that is, there are often factors or elements of the case the public is not aware of. This is especially true in a criminal case involving juveniles, and this is even more true in juvenile cases involving abuse or neglect, which are not open to the public. While a criminal case may breeze through a preliminary probable cause hearing, preliminary hearing does not require strict adherence to the rules of evidence and allows the introduction of hearsay testimony. Therefore, a more in-depth analysis of a case often reveals flaws and sometimes serious flaws with a case. My analysis of the criminal case against Ms. Tresner revealed significant evidentiary hurdles that I believe jeopardized the outcome of the case, especially if the case was to go to a jury trial. These evidentiary issues included, but were not limited to, an uncooperative complaining witness that provided multiple conflicting statements. Multiple conflicting statements made by Ms. Tresner, a teenage witness who had been in the home but couldn't provide any corroborating evidence, a lack of physical evidence collected at the scene, as well as a compromised crime scene. While Ms. Tresner did make incriminating statements, then recant those statements only to make similar incriminating statements again. Confessions to a crime without more are not enough to prove what's called the corpus delicti of a crime. That means that a mere confession alone can't suffice to prove someone's guilt. There needs to be other evidence. In my view, the other evidence in this case was lacking enough that all the factors together led me to conclude there was a high likelihood I was not able to present a strong enough case to get 12 jurors to agree that Ms. Tresner was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And with that, there was also the distinct possibility that she would be found not guilty of any of the crimes charged. And based on these reasons, I elected to proceed on a lesser charge to ensure a guilty plea that would be beneficial in other matters involving Ms. Tresner. Now, based on the nature of the crimes and the victim, I understand the emotional response, but regardless of the nature of the crimes charged against the defendants, my job to determine the strength and viability of a case and its likely outcome in an analytical manner rather than an emotional manner. As far as sentencing a defendant or getting a defendant to agree to a sentence, it's not as simple as the defendant pleads guilty or is found guilty and then is subsequently sentenced to the maximum possible penalty available under law. It very rarely involves a maximum sentence being imposed, and in many cases does not involve a prison sentence at all. In fact, the prison sentence is often only used in cases where probation is first offered, and then once probation is subsequently revoked due to a failure to comply with probation, is that individual sent to prison. As the state's attorney, I'm the chief law enforcement officer in the county, and I'm charged with prosecuting the crimes committed here in Edgar County. As such, and in spite of the issues with this case, I take responsibility for the handling of this case as well as the outcome of the case. However, this case did, along with several other cases, expose some serious deficiencies in aspects of our law enforcement approach, one of which is the shortage of available deputies patrolling Edgar County roads, as well as the lack of at least one Sheriff's Department investigator or a state's attorney's investigator that could be available to assist the Sheriff's Department. I know the county board has only recently been made aware of these issues, and it's an ongoing thing, but I hope the Public Safety Committee overseeing the Sheriff's Department and the state's attorney's office will be able to come up with solutions to address these shortfalls. Now, I was raised here in Edgar County, and I care very deeply about Edgar County. I chose to come back here to Edgar County to help improve the community. I'm incredibly grateful that I've been given the opportunity to do so as the state's attorney, and I don't take the responsibility lightly. I give a lot of thought when I'm reviewing reports for criminal charges. A lot of thought goes into the pleas that are offered to defendants. I understand why people are upset with what is perceived as a lack of criminal justice. However, the issues affecting criminal justice in Edgar County are not solely Edgar County issues, and there are many issues with the current state of criminal justice in Illinois in general, including the passing of the SAFE-T Act when it went into effect last year or the year before. Now, the local issues that are affecting criminal justice in Edgar County didn't arise overnight. They didn't arise just last year. They didn't arise over the last couple of years. These local issues grew over a long period of time, and likewise, these issues can't be fixed overnight. I'm not going to have any solutions that's going to make everybody happy tomorrow. The law moves slowly, and it's going to take time to change. I understand I'm not going to be able to get the outcome the community wants in every case, and I understand that I'm not going to be able to get the outcome that I want in every case. But I'm working with law enforcement to fix the issues in Edgar County one case at a time, and I simply ask the people of Edgar County to place some trust in my analysis of cases and my subsequent decision making. Like I said, I will have a version of this that will be available on Friday, which I will also provide to the Prairie Press, who I thought would be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. To that end, I called Matt after Monday, and we talked about setting up a meeting of the safety committee safety meeting on the 4th. Is that correct, Matt?
Yeah, that's the date we discussed.
Yes.
So make sure that works with everybody.
Yeah,
What day?
that's a Tuesday. Is that all right for you and Carl and Andy? And I'm out of town, unfortunately, for 2 weeks. That's why we have, which I explained to Matt, that's why we're having to wait for that time, because I
Do
assume
we
you
have
would like.
time?
I'm sorry, what, Carl?
What time?
Well, I would assume 9 or 10 o'clock.
Actually, looking at my schedule, Jeff, that the 4th won't work for me. I have another class that day.
Do we want to try Monday,
Yeah, the 3rd would be fine.
Carl? The 3rd at what time? 3, or I'm sorry, 10, 9, 10, or 11, something?
10 would be better for me.
10, 10 would be better, that will be out at the highway office.
Sounds good.
Augie, can you make sure we get that posted, please?
Yes, sir.
And how does that work out for you, Philip?
That works, the 3rd.
Okay,
It's at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. at the highway office, yes, sir. Monday. We also may go into closed session to talk about some items. I'm gonna see if the insurance agent might be available at that time to address some personnel issues, okay? Right? As we talked about here a couple of weeks ago, okay? So, we're down to the sheriff's department. Do you folks have something to say?
Definitely can't wait for the,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to say what you, if you had something to say, so. Okay, we'll move on. Does the board have any questions about any of that? Any comments? Okay, committee reports, Dan, you gave one on Monday. Do you have anything
Well, we had
else?
a meeting last week with Andrew. He continues to work on the ESDA building as part of the shelter. He has it all planned out, so it's, looks like it's really gonna make a difference out there. And she did hire another part-time person. The one that we have has got some problems, so she has hired another person to help, and the shelter's always full, 35 to 40 animals all the time, so she needs the extra help, so. should
Actually,
work out.
she's hired 2 people.
Pardon?
She's hired 2 people.
Yeah, she hired one to help clean the shelter, the other one's gonna do a lot of the paperwork and a lot of the computer work.
Who did we have when you and I were still on the, when we first got on the board, Carl? A guy at the shelter. Remember?
Larry Silver,
Yes, Larry's coming back.
Larry.
Larry's.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that's,
Larry was when you first came.
I'm thinking of Ryan Humphrey.
Ron Humphrey's the one too.
is it, okay, I couldn't remember the
Yeah.
name.
Used to be a policeman, I think, didn't he?
Yes.
he used to be the chief.
The other
Anyway,
one's, that's the problem, it works like 6 or 8 hours a week, and that's really not enough out there with the amount of animals they have. So she needs some extra help.
she also got a $10,000 donation.
And the lady was helping with the computer work. She's got more responsibility at St. Mary's of the Woods.
Yeah,
So
she's
I
not
think the
coming
person
back.
she hired is gonna do some of the computer work, so,
Right.
so it should work out all right.
And like I said, she just got a $10,000 donation too. So, thank you. Andy?
Not much, just hope we get heat going in the health department. Find out
whether those parts come in today or not. Was that Supreme that's doing the work? Or Sycamore?
Yeah, they put in the heating system, how many years ago? Downstairs.
I don't think they put the heating system.
Yeah, they did.
No, they didn't.
I was on the board when they did it.
I think it serves refrigeration.
I could be wrong.
You guys duke it out later.
Yeah.
That would be much more fun.
We'll use those Nerf deals. Use the Nerf deals. Phil, do you have anything? Russ?
Work was trying to get underway on cleaning up around the tower. They
Yeah.
had some issues and probably had it Julied to make sure
It's a good
we
idea.
hadn't had that done, so Jimmy was on top of it. Then the sub-zero weather hit, so.
Yeah, it was 6 below this morning.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I had 6 below. I don't know what you guys had.
Carr said 12 below at 6:30 this morning.
Yeah, nine below.
He's trying to get things running. He's on it, trying to get the place cleaned up.
And we'll keep dogging the tower so we can get that going. Carl, do you have anything this morning? Lisa, anything more?
Sure. Channel 3 this morning on their weather report, Paris was a blank, so apparently they couldn't get a read from Paris, and that's
The airport?
the station at the airport, right? So I was hoping that I'll be here today. Anyway, in case you talk to somebody, I did sign up for the January 27th UCCI meeting. There were several good sessions there. The one I really wanted to hear was from counties that have administrators. I received from UCCI a Word document for the battery storage ordinance that I had mentioned that when I went to the last UCCI meeting. So it is worded for a zoned county, so I'll do what I can and then I'll be forwarding it on to you to look at. And on that, kind of on that same vein, is UCCI sent us a policy report from the lame duck session, and both houses, Illinois houses, have passed some different bills, and this one has to do with energy. There are 4 bullet points, and if the order of the bullets is an order of priorities, I think this is interesting. The first bullet is to make sure that the Prevailing Wage Act is adhered to. The second one is safety training, that's great. The third one is a diversity plan. And the fourth one is in provisions of the Illinois Power Agency Act concerning the Illinois Solar for All program, directs the area median income to be revised every year rather than every 5 years to identify households that qualify as low income. And it requires the agency's Planning and Procurement Bureau to develop plans and processes for the procurement of energy storage, which just makes it more important that I get on this battery storage ordinance sooner rather than later. The other thing I thought was interesting is, and I interpreted it a little differently than my husband did, Illinois Vehicle Code authorizes the Department of Transportation to restrict vehicle length on its roadways as it deems appropriate for the purposes of designing or modifying the intersection of a local roadway and a state roadway that does not accommodate specified vehicles. They can cause signage to be installed on their respective roadway to notify vehicles of turning and length restrictions. So that could have an interesting implication on roads. Of course, I was thinking the big trailers, the articulating semis that if you get behind them as they go down Route 1 where the road splits in Paris, that's always interesting to watch. But also, I was thinking more of semis that haul wind turbine blades out in the
They're
country.
supposed to know that, you know, where they're going. That's why they have to get a special permit if it's over a certain
Don't you
length.
see them do that? I see.
Oh, yeah,
them have
some of them
that.
got back wheels that turn,
Mhm.
like those old
Right, yeah.
Washington.
So anyway, it could be interesting, it would be kind of interesting to know what led to this bill being created and passed. So those were the things that I thought were interesting in what UCCI had shared. And that is all I have.
I noticed they slipped diversity in there. And then, did they know that's gonna end on Monday?
Yeah. Talking about wind farms,
I hope.
a guy told me the other day that someone had been contacted in Sims Township about a wind farm.
Yep. Phil Wright sent me information on that a little while ago. Yeah.
How there'd be
And
enough wind down with all the
Yeah.
hills and hollers, you know, versus out.
Right, makes sense.
Sims is this way, which, yeah, this one.
Phil says, called the land agent with that letter representing INF Energy. They want 30,000 acres in Edgar County for wind farm, and said no Ameren was involved, which, you know, Phil would ask that. And I told him there would be a push, he said landowners would get paid 25 to 30,000 per tower per year. And when Phil received his initial letter, it was made to look like a Christmas card. So,
The airport weather station is working. They're checking the communication systems.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Don is progressing well. We're all, just about all the receiving is done. And month-end balancing is almost done through the end of the year. Transfers are just about taken care of. Trying to think of, we are having Whiffley handle the accruals at the end of the year for $2,500, because Don's just trying to dig out of the mess. So I shouldn't make it sound like a mess, but he's got a lot to do, catch up. How's that, catch up? So that's where we're at there.
What
We
about
should-
the commissary?
Commissary, have we heard from him yet?
Haven't heard back, but he is engaged, he's gonna do it.
And they
Okay.
have met with the sheriff's department. So they'll set up something and have
I
that
don't
done
know
soon.
when it was gonna begin, but he said soon they would get started on it.
You seen where they revised it, okay,
Yeah, yes, they did, thank you.
I explained to them what was going on with the other company, and
This time we'll make sure that you get a direct copy, everybody. Okay? So it's there. I'm not sure if that was done last time, but we made sure that, well, but you got it late.
It's after the fact,
Yeah. We just need to make sure when they mail it to Augie, they mail it to you folks at the same
So
time.
you'll have a copy for the jail inspectors?
Right. You'll have a hard copy and electronics copy,
Yeah.
okay?
Sounds good.
That way there's no confusion.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely, Kim.
We've been talking about the jail and the commissary comes up. At what point, I need plans for anything refrigerated, potentially hazardous, but then if you're planning on doing a kitchen, I just need to be looped in that conversation. We have required, plans that are submitted as well when you guys develop those facilities. Typically, it's before you break ground, but I mean, it's an extraordinary situation, so I just want to throw that out there.
At this point, just so you're aware, we have food brought in and we either refrigerate it or eat it.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
we're not making food as such at the place. But I
Right.
still understand
Yeah.
It's
that
like
you
floor wall
need,
ceiling requirements.
it's
IDPH.
designed and
Yeah,
we'll
all.
make sure we do that.
yeah,
I just wanted her to understand
Yeah.
how we're doing. In the future, at some point, we may expand the kitchen so that it could be used as actually creating dishes for the prisoners.
Yep, happy to be involved in that. For any questions or about the permitting regulations, any of that.
So I guess that's a question, since it's brought up. You know, we're bringing food in, same as like Clark County. Do we need to have you guys look at anything that we're doing?
Technically, yes, I've always inspected the jails. We go anywhere there's food or you're holding refrigerated items, even those gas stations that do nothing but they have a refrigerator or a freezer with something like milk or ice cream, they hold a permit. So they hold a food permit for that because it's just required by state law. It is, and then a plan review is required to be conducted because there has to be a hand sink typically it's 20 foot. So it's things like that, it's cross-contamination, we get plumbing specs, I go through blueprints, floor, wall, ceiling, and that plan review process is something that is legally required as part of opening any facility that is serving potentially hazardous food to the public.
I'll get a hold of Josh and make sure we get the portion of the plans to you as soon as possible, okay?
Yeah, anything I can do to answer any questions or just be there for this, on one page would be good, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you for reminding us. We don't want to get into a situation where we're not doing what we ask everybody else to do.
It's easier to catch it, yeah.
Sure. Anything else to come before the meeting this morning? Do we need a closed session for anything? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn then. Russ must need to get out of here. Russ and Andy. Russ moves, Andy seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.